I just gotta check if YouTube has connected.
It sounds so complicated to do StreamYard.
No. It's absolutely simple. It's simple. It's even simpler
Okay.
than Riverside. Actually, I
Okay.
enjoyed a whole lot on StreamYard. Oh, Riverside. All right, we're live. Welcome back, everyone. To
Are we live?
Sorry, it was just we're live. It's just that it started playing in my headphones.
We got intro
in parallel,
Great voice.
All right, welcome back, everyone. One more time, welcome back, everyone, to Odys Talks. Naturally, the show is brought to you by Otis Global, your one-stop marketplace for age domains and websites, as well as several additional services, including fully managed hosting, 301 redirects, EAT audit, and topic clusters. You can as well buy stuff from us in installments if you find something that you believe meets your needs, business needs, but you can't or don't want to pay it in full right away. You can reach out to our team via the website and request this service. We also have mentors who will be happy to help you in whatever you need, whether it's SEO, business management, marketing, or team management. And by the way, Mods, who's here with us, is one of our mentors. You can find the link to his mentor page in the description of this episode. All right, today I'm joined by three more amazing people. It's John Wright of StatsDrone, Mod Singers of Mod Singers Consulting, and Ani Hoang, the host of the Aspiring SMO podcast and the project manager at SEO Notebook. By the way, congrats on that. I forgot to congratulate. All right, guys, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves for anyone who hasn't seen you, hasn't heard of you, or just for the sake of good tone. John, since you're here for the first time, why don't you go first?
Sure. Since it's SEO related, I've been in affiliate marketing for almost 20 years, and I consider myself a lazy SEO. I like niches that I have less competition. So I like B2B affiliate program reviews. And we're just building a software company for affiliate marketers. And I've got a podcast, and I've had a lot of amazing SEOs. So I'm happy to chat with some more amazing SEOs here.
Awesome. Are you competing with Lasso?
We'll get to that later.
All right.
Not yet.
All right, Ani?
Hi, everyone. My name is Ani, and I do multiple things. Thank you so much for mentioning my brand, the Aspiring SMO. It started out as a podcast, and I think it's growing to something different or bigger. Not sure. It's a journey. And I'm also one of the organizers of the SEO Mastery Summit that's coming up next month. And my most of the time, I'm also a project manager at SEO Notebook. So I'm doing a lot of everything. Like I'm the SEO's besties because I get other things done and I manage teams. And I guess like that's a good combination for SEOs.
Awesome. You're like the one-man orchestra.
Yeah.
Right, Mods.
Yes, I do way too many things, but my passion and drive in life is definitely management and helping people build their business well and so on. So I spend a lot of my time doing management consulting, run a big outsourcing company over at aristosourcing.com. We have a super cool management SaaS app called heyram.com. I'm also part of the SEO Mastery Summit, which is obviously the best SEO conference in the world.
Just a tiny little part.
Just in the world.
Just founded it.
In case you didn't know. And I do actually plan to be at the next event here in April. So look forward to see a lot of the people there as well. And that's most of my crazy adventures.
Yeah, and by the way, I forgot to include it in the description of the episode, but I'll do it later. Otis is one of the sponsors of SEO Mastery Summit, and I'll add the link to the ticket purchase page with a special code that will allow you to get the ticket for a discounted price. All right, guys, let's kick it off.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
Yeah. All right. So the hot topic today is obviously Google Core Update, which affected a lot of affiliate marketers and SEOs, especially those who have been publishing their case studies publicly, and have been doing some not so white-hat stuff, let's say. As well as it turns out, based on the things said by participants of Odys Talks in previous episodes, the sites that don't have like strong branding behind them, in particular, were hit, and those that do have strong branding, whether they're affiliate marketing projects or just businesses, they weren't affected, and people owning them don't pretty much worry. We just had a little talk with John right now before going live, and I asked him like how has he been faring after the Google Core update, and he was like, I don't care. I don't really care. We're a company, we have like a brand, and everything goes smooth. So since you guys are into the community, all of you, in different ways, from you have your own point of views of that, points of view on that. What's your perspective on this whole thing, and what do you think people, business owners, entrepreneurs that had been hit with the core update and had their traffic shaved, they say, how can they, let's say, swim out of this whirlpool?
Maybe I'll go first just to get out of the way. And when I say I don't care as much about the updates, it's mostly because I already told you I'm the lazy SEO. We have B2B affiliate program reviews. We don't have a lot of competition, and there's been almost no change, maybe a slight uptick from us. And to be very honest, we haven't actually done what I believe everyone here would preach, which is if you focus on making a good product leads to good branding, and branding leads to not getting swiped or swept away in the river of these different Google updates. So I'm planning to still go ahead and change those things. We're actually in the middle of redesigning our sites, working with some SEOs and going, what is the best practice for us to be that brand authority? I just made a LinkedIn post recently talking about a gambling site called Ask Gamblers. And they were acquired a year ago from a big company, and they've done a 4x in traffic. Everyone was like, they already thought they were maxed out, but no, they took it a bit further. And what's interesting is a lot of people actually search for Ask Gamblers plus a brand keyword. So it's like a brand search on top of another brand. Everyone wants that, but I think the only reason why they're in that position in the first place is because they're product focused. They do casino complaints, and people are like, I'm coming here for Ask Gamblers plus this gambling brand, and they're basically isolated.
Mm-hmm. What about you guys? What do you think? What do you have to say?
I think, yeah. So I'll say that there's two key things. I think I hate talking about SEO because it's not totally on my brand, but we've definitely been affected. So we have an in-house SEO company as well, right? So what I'd say that the HCU update last year was definitely looked like that was very heavy. If you had 0 brand searches, if all of your traffic was coming directly from SEO, it looked like you were in trouble, right? Mm-hmm. So we have some sites that were very affiliate ad sites, and some of the brands were common terms. So it wasn't direct match, but it was like a common term. And the problem was because there was literally 0 brand searches because people wouldn't search for that. it was very difficult, one, to create brand searches, and two, we could really see that having a negative impact. Now, at the same time, getting zero traffic from social and so on, making all our money just from SEO. For a few of our sites, that was definitely not the formula to go with. And that was, let's call it, very painful, right? I think the last update here is very different. So I see this very similar to how Google used to do these PBN updates back in the days. So what they would typically do is they would find some high-profile people, they would find their network, and they would manually penalize them, and then they would tell the whole world, and then everyone think PBNs were dead. But anyone that ever works with PBNs know that they have been working just as well for a really long time, right? The one thing that changed was people started doing all sorts of different difficult things. I mean, again, if you have a website with 200 links and they all come from the same IP, probably not good, right? But SEO started doing all these PBNs with different IP addresses and different footprints and so on. Reality is, like, if you're using the same 5 plugins, I can promise you Google is not going to spend the resources trying to go in and say, okay, what plugins are various websites on the web using and blah, blah, blah. Like, you know, SEOs went overboard and went like bananas on trying to make their network undiscoverable. But reality is they did, in my opinion at least, they've done a ton of work for no particular reason, right? So as long as you have a decent domain, as long as it's relevant to the topic that it was originally, like, PBN still works great. And I think what we're seeing with AI content is exactly the same, right? So again, they've picked some big public figures, they have kicked their sites to the end of the world. But honestly, I mean, I know most of the guys that have been hit, or many of the guys at least, and they all say the same thing. All the URLs they've shared publicly, all been hit. All the URLs they haven't shared publicly still works absolutely fine, right? So I don't think Google have figured out very much. Like, they've definitely hit some really large sites, right? So the sites getting 10, 20, 30 million traffic or so on with a shit ton of AI spam. And some of those have definitely been hit. But large majority of half-decent AI content, as far as I can see, and as far as I can see from the community, is still doing absolutely fine, right? So I think what we see here is like the PBN update, basically a lot of scare tactics, a lot of screaming and shouting, and I don't think as much actual impact, if you will.
The scare tactics was the phrase I've been actually thinking of while you were talking. Yeah.
And I mean, they talked a little bit about 301s and repurposing domains and all that good stuff again, right?
Yeah. And
let's just say we have sites with hundreds of 301s, and
well 301 is one
so far.
301 is one thing. They were particularly mentioning aggressive repurposing of domains, so that's a bit different. All right, Ani, you get to talk to a lot of high level SEOs, high ballers, let's say. I don't know, like I believe you did have several conversations post update with these guys. So what's your takeaway from those conversations?
I'm actually quite lucky that I got to work in agencies because I can oversee the projects and stuff, and we luckily didn't get hit. And I think also it has to do with the velocity of content that AI sites versus regular businesses push out, because businesses care about their content. Sometimes I'm like, I would just tell the client, can you just do it faster? But then, you always have a manager of the managers of the manager of the CEO of the whatever stakeholder and then whatever. So like, in order to make those changes on a business website, it takes forever. I mean, forever for me is like months. And I think velocity has to do with it. I don't think the quality of content has to do with it, because I see, like, I'm active in the community and I see different groups where they talk about like, oh, if you write this way, or again, it kind of goes back to the first conversation we had on this Odys like months ago when AI just came out, and
In
we were
June.
yeah, like damn, we were talking about the same thing. Like, how is that AI content going to be like? And honestly, like it's still a good, like AI can push out still like a good piece of content as long as you know how to use it, and
Yep.
it still holds true. Like now I can compare actual writers versus what I do with AI, and sometimes the two of them kind of look the same. So I even told Mads one day that a writer today, if he or she doesn't use AI for their work, I would be kind of mad because AI speeds up your work. It helps you to think creatively. So, all in all, even a writer today should use AI to like speed up their work and do better content. So I'm not scared of AI content. I think it has to do with velocity and probably links somehow somewhere. But yeah, then that's what I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just to follow up on that, right? Like Google cannot read. I have heard that it's still possible to rank lorem ipsum, and I'm sure at some point we will see more case studies in that regard, right? But reality is it's still very doable to rank lorem ipsum. So with that being said, I would argue that the worst AI content is better than lorem ipsum. So yeah.
Yeah. One thing about AI content, and not AI content per se, but integrating LLMs into writers' work, is that, well, Adam Chronister emphasized it several times during our last conversation here on Odys Talks, is that right now in his company he doesn't, on Leaf, he doesn't have writers. He has prompt engineers and editors, because it's a lot like faster and boosts the quality if you use like AI and you do know how to prompt it properly, how to feed it like proper prompts to feed it with, and then edit it. It just puts you on a different level. So yeah, it's just a thing that we all have to adapt to and adopt into our lives. I mean, it's a staggering piece of technology that we just have to take advantage of. Everyone pretty much should, in the digital business, marketing, whatever space. Yeah, one thing I've been thinking of actually, leading up to this episode, to this conversation, is that, well, branded traffic is a lot like having a brand behind your company online, behind your site or project, is pretty much like John actually mentioned that in in his response to my first question, is a lot like dealing with just dealing with people and providing them with great and high quality services, products, whatever it is, because when you're just some obscure person from the internet who slaps their, I don't know, some fake persona on the website or whatever, and just blasts out some content that isn't necessarily useful, just to ride the like ad revenue wave or whatever it is. It's a totally different game from actually being there, trying to be helpful and trying to deliver high level whatever it is, products or services, I mean. So and this is why I think the three of you are like the perfect fit for this particular conversation, because, well, even though you're tapped into the SEO industry, you're not necessarily SEOs. I mean, Mods delivers next level consulting, team management consulting services. First of all, like Ani is big on marketing and has her own Aspiring SMO brand, and John has this SaaS, StatsDrone, right? So speaking of that, of all of that, of all the gibberish I just said, How do you
Yeah,
think
I,
this? Okay, yeah. You wanted to say something.
I, yeah, I
Go
think
on.
that like overall, again, the concept of real business, right? So some of the things that I heard on Chiang Mai SEO was really valuable, sort of in terms of how Google actually uses click data and all this sort of stuff, right? Which makes a ton of sense, right? One of the things we noticed, like we've been using this a lot when doing parasite SEO, where we've been utilizing quite a bit with social signals, and it seems to make a difference, right? So if you publish stuff on like LinkedIn or something and do nothing, versus if you publish articles on LinkedIn and send a bunch of social signals after them, the difference is pretty significant, right? And I was talking with the guys over at Searcheroo, and that was how I kind of got into the social signals a little bit. But we see an impact of that, and it tends to Google are looking at those signals. It makes sense that Google is looking at the user metric. Where I think it matters a lot is particularly with smaller and new sites, right? Because if you can generate or if you can assimilate that, make it look like you actually have searches and people are talking about you, I think that makes it significantly easier to start taking off. Because again, as I always say, going from making $0 to $100 is harder than going from 100 to 1,000, right? And the essence is getting started, like getting your first traffic, getting the first 1,000 visitors, all of that. Like getting started is the hardest part, right? When you get started, when Google starts seeing that you have traffic, you're doing good things with it, you don't have horrible click rates and so on, right? Then things get significantly easier. And as we all know, when you start seeing the growth curve, when you first get started with that, it's just about keeping that going, right? So for me, that's the big thing. And I think a lot of the time, the biggest problem, particularly, I mean, we have a lot of affiliates at our conference, and the problem is often, one, they take the easiest way out. And as you say, like they create some random persona with an AI image. And honestly, you can still get away with it.
For a while.
It's also relatively, there's a lot of sites out there that's getting away with it, right? So if you have the other signals, like if you have links, if you have your social signals, if things are happening, then that's less important, right? There's probably a few niches where like it's all different from niche to niche, right? But from that point of view, that's important, right? But I think kind of establishing the presence, actually having a presence on social media, as an example, just makes it significantly easier to seem like a real business. And again, people are like, oh, we're getting 5 clicks. I mean, we one of our sites, we spend a bunch of time on Pinterest, and we're getting like 500 searches a month. So it wasn't much, but again, it's referral traffic from a third-party site, from a consistent traffic on a place where Google can see that other people are caring and talking about you. Right?
And maybe just to even jump on what you were saying, Vlad, is just to try to use an example for my situation of being, again, the lazy SEO and having affiliate program reviews. And this is where, like, even jumping on what Ani said about, I've already got notes here, like, using AI to speed up your content. What we've decided to do is we want to become the authority in affiliate program reviews. And if you look at most affiliate program reviews in any niche, it doesn't really matter. They all kind of have the same thing. Now, they all talk about commissions and they talk about this and that, and some of them might have user-generated content. And the way we want to stand out is because we are a stats company. We want to go, okay, how deep can we take this? Which programs, like how often is the data in the backend updated? Is it real time, by the hour, 24 hours? What time zone? Do they have postbacks and S2S pixel tracking? Do they have API export? And even when you do have API export, how do you get that? So by going really deep, we're hoping that we can actually accomplish that branded traffic where you are looking for that affiliate program plus the API instructions. And we've actually found users that said, I only discovered you because I was actually looking for the API of that program. And to be very honest, we don't even have this fully fleshed out yet. We've only got a couple blog posts talking about it. So, I've been talking to a lot of SEOs about the SEO strategy, and as well as people that do content marketing, and go, what are the things that we can talk about that no one is talking about, but is actually top of mind for affiliates? And to me, this all goes hand in hand with bottom of funnel content.
to add my 2 cents to that, I also saw that there
Just
was a
me?
oh,
Is it just me, or
I think you skipped out for a little bit. Yeah, it's just him.
it's just me? I'm sorry. Yeah, there was
what's
a
going
part of that you that I didn't hear. You just like froze for me.
Hopefully
All
everyone
right.
else got it.
Yeah, hopefully. So Annie, apparently I interrupted you. Sorry for that.
It's so cool that John was talking about bottom of the funnel content, whereas I see like emerging interest in the SEO industry for YouTube content, and almost like I see more and more SEOs wanting to jump onto YouTube, and it's such an interesting move. Like such an interesting wave. All good? Am I frozen?
Yeah, yeah. Well, your
Oops.
image is, but your sound is okay, so you can keep talking. Okay, you're back.
Yeah. All right. So basically, I saw this like emerging wave on YouTube content and wanting to be on YouTube, and it's almost like we want to cover the top of the funnel and slowly like just cover all aspects of marketing other than search. And I actually feel very fortunate that I have a YouTube channel so that I can experiment with what is working and what's not. Um, because I already had like a channel before. I saw a lot of SEOs wanting to be on YouTube, and I made all those mistakes that now I see a lot of people wanting to do that I did, which is like, let me just share with you, like, some of the mistakes I see is like SEOs trying to do keyword research the same way, like they for YouTube, the same way they want to do for Google. And I
Mhm.
did the exact same stuff. And it's just like having that keyword and creating content, dry content, boring content around that keyword is just not going to please the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, that's basically a waste of time. And basically, like going into like a more creative route to the YouTube, that's when you get the views. So yeah, like anyway, so I see like a big trend on jumping onto creative channels, which then I also predict that SEOs will have to collaborate with creatives and also have the skills or somebody on the team to manage these creatives, which is, I'm talking designers, I'm talking video editors. Oh my God, video editors, Jesus. That's a hard one to manage, okay? And then content creators. So I see that coming, like where conference is gonna be like, hey, how can we rank on YouTube? How do you get people to be in front of the camera? Because I'm way too shy. Because I see that I see that coming. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's all about like providing something value, providing value to your audience, your clients. And this is one of the things why we pivoted towards doing live streams instead of podcasts. Because I mean, doing a podcast with a person, uh, getting like some great setup, professional setup for filming and recording sound is great, but it takes so much time. I mean, just to release one episode a month with all the effort put in, and yeah, just with the live streams, when I get to get like two or three people together and have like a genuine valuable conversation on the things that really matter, not just for SEO. And I'm not like uh, undervaluing SEO whatsoever. I'm just saying that SEO is just a part of the game, right? Could be a big part. Oh, what's wrong?
Uh-oh.
Okay, well, let's hope there any and mods will reconnect soon. So yeah, it's part of the game. Could be a bigger or smaller part of the game. Okay, Annie is reconnecting. Let's see.
And maybe, while they're
Okay,
reconnecting,
I'm
it's
so sorry. I
you're
don't know what
back.
happened.
It's all right.
I'm alive.
It happens once in a while. I mean, technology is not 100% reliable. Any technology. So,
this is why we don't want editing.
so yeah, what was I talking about? The value, right? You just get like these valuable conversations, and get to tap into various aspects of doing business and marketing and SEO and affiliate marketing, and it all like has so much value you won't get from one like regular let's say I don't know, just one conversation for I don't know how to put it. Yeah, just one conversation with another person, which can also be valuable and great. You get to tap into their thoughts and stuff like that. But I mean, with these conversations, you get several perspectives, points of view at once, and the audience gets to like pick on the best parts of that and put that to use in their business or work, whatever it is.
I'm just refraining from asking questions to the other two, going, here's my SEO
Go on.
situation.
I'll hold back.
No, I get enough of that one-on-one with the podcast, so it's more than enough.
By the way, you had a conversation with Mods recently, right? You released the episode.
Yes,
So
it was I thought I was going to go more on the SEO side, but then on project management, I was really intrigued on what he offers for a service. So at some point in time, I still have to follow back in. But as we're growing as a company, it's I actually think that for what Mads teaches, this is actually a lot of fundamentals of success for entrepreneurs and SEOs. It's where you can always look at someone else and go, well, of course you're not spending the right time and making the right business, the right decisions. I mean, it sounds so simple, but I mean, Mads just kind of breaks it down and kind of puts the mirror to your face. And it's when you hear from successful people, especially SEO, it's like, you're just not spending the right amount of time making the right decisions. And and then like when we chatted before, you said you meet all these people and you're like, oh, they seem pretty kind of casual about their business, but they're super dialed in. And you're like, why are they consistently making the right decisions and just kind of they're going up a level each time, and everyone else is going, they just left us all behind.
The thing that's interesting to see, right, is that when you talk with very successful people in the world of SEO, they often don't talk about SEO.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
that's
I think
true.
the big thing is when you're seeing people who are making 2, 3, 4 grand a month and trying to get off the ground, all they talk about is SEO. But like some of my best friends, I mean, I love hanging out with Kyle, love hanging out with Matt Diggity, love hanging out with a lot of these guys, and we never talk about SEO, right? Like we likely talk about business sometimes, but we very rarely talk about SEO. Because reality is, like, a lot of people is constantly chasing that next hack or that thing they think if they get 1% better, they'll suddenly break through. Reality is, for most SEOs, even if they could do 50% more of what they're doing right now, they wouldn't be significantly more successful, right? So the biggest problem is often they're so focused on the SEO side of things rather than thinking out from a business side of things, right? And it actually ties into this conversation with brand and so on, right? Like, I had a great chat with Alex from Odys at the Chiang Mai SEO, and one of the things I love about Odys is they spend so much time and effort building a brand. Everyone know who they are. Everyone, like, if you go to an SEO event, everyone know Odys, right? And that's because they've done the hard work. Now, the thing is, most SEOs don't do the hard work. They don't do the things that is going to build them a huge business. They do the things, like a little bit, as you say, John, it's the lazy approach to, I know how to write some content, so let me put some content on a website and let me try and make a little bit of money from it, right? But reality is, like, when you go to conferences, when you do meetups in your local areas, what I 100% recommend is talk more about the business side of things, right? When I sit down with Kyle, Matt, someone like James Dooley, one of the smartest people I know, like, when we start talking business, like, we're all learning, but that's what makes a difference, right? Like, some of these guys are making millions a month, right? And it's possible, it's doable, but it takes business mindset, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And funny thing about James Dooley, probably I think the only times I heard him talk about SEO was when he was on Odys Talks. And at all the other occasions, it was business, branding, scaling, solving like various issues down the road, but it wasn't SEO per se. It was just it was a tiny little part of the entire conversation. So yeah, it's just a different uh, type of thinking, I guess.
Yeah. And even just to tie in like that whole what James is talking about is he's not necessarily talking about branding, but he kind of is. And I just kind of see this whole tie-in with there's content and optimization, but when you build a brand, it's kind of like, well, brand is just kind of like a keyword that people throw around a little too easily. And it's like, well, how do you build a product that people talk about and resonate with and understand? And that takes time. And even when I had James on my podcast, I did pick his brain. I said, all right, here's my situation. What do we do? And he said, absolutely, give those data points out to everyone. Like, don't hide them behind a paywall. Just give them away for free. People are going to copy them. They're going to literally use my data points to make their own AI content and rank over in the corner there. But if people, in the future, I kind of look at, what Odys has done for our brand. If we can achieve something similar for my company, I'll be super pumped. If people can start going StatsDrone plus an affiliate program and say, I want to go know more about that program, then how do we become useful for affiliates, affiliate managers, everyone else?
Yeah, I would also like to jump on this bandwagon of doing the hard work, because Alex, our CEO, says it quite often, and I've heard it probably from mods as well, and a lot of other people. It's like the general perception is that people don't see the hard work behind brands and companies, like the years and years and years of hard work and like building products, services, brand image, everything. And for example, with Odys, Alex has been building this brand and service for over 15 or 16 years, and the brand itself was around for, I think, since 2018, 2017, probably at most. And it sprouted out of the product and service he's been building on his own, with some with the original team, like behind the curtains. No one knew about them except for him. So yeah, there's a lot of hard work you have to put into it, into your brand, and the business, if you want to make, if you want it to last. And one of the things that Alex also I picked it up from him, speaking of SEO and affiliate marketing, that you have to treat your website as a business if you want to make it last, not as a side hustle, because otherwise it just won't.
Maybe just to jump on that, it's when we were talking before getting recording, I had a chance to chat with one of the most successful iGaming affiliates like in the world, and I got a chance to ask him, why are you in the top 3 when everyone else is bragging about being the 24th best iGaming affiliate? And his answer was, no one has a long-term vision. And it sounds like an elementary or super basic answer, but behind that was, no, it's hard work, a long-term vision. And I think people get too fixated on the companies that we all know, companies that have been around for 3 years, and they're like, wow, look how big they are. But everyone focuses on them rather than the brands like Odys that have taken 15 years to build up what they are. And it's, now that you've got that certain level, it's really difficult to just try to shake it. It's not to say that Odys can't be overtaken by someone else, but I think too many people, they're just looking more for lottery tickets. They're like, I want affiliate marketing. I want my 10K a month. I want it in the first month, and I think every business owner is guilty of chasing that faster reward rather than going, I'm going to do this long, painful stuff,
Yeah.
But here's the thing, like a lot of the time, it's not just going for the quick wins per se. again, from my experience, right, the key thing is that, again, people aren't great on the business side, right? So a lot of people, they start an agency and they're like, yeah, we'll do SEO, but they're not in touch with the audience. They don't have a solid process they're scaling out, and they're just trying to do SEO, and therefore the business owner end up being the critical piece. Nothing happens if they're not working. And so again, I think yeah, like if you look at Otis, like the reason you're successful today, I bet you as well, Alex made a ton of mistakes for a bunch of years, right? And it's for most people, I mean myself, when I started a company, like it's a learning journey, right? But the thing is that and this is particularly in the world of SEO, like when you're looking, I work with a lot of clients in e-commerce and SaaS and so on, and they typically have a quite different look at things. But particularly in SEO, people are so eager to do SEO that they kind of justify to themselves why not to focus on the business part, because they just love doing SEO, right? And that's a very SEO niche thing, I believe. But because of that, they kind of justify to themselves over and over again why they shouldn't learn more about business, and why they should just focus on the SEO and buying another course and buying another training or whatever. And it's like, that's not where the value is. Like, honestly, I run a conference. We have, again, some of the best speakers in the world. Most of the value is not sitting and listening to speakers. Most of the value is finding great people and having real conversations with them, asking them questions, learning things, right? Like that's the real value. And reality is, most businesses, like very few businesses, get from 0 to something in less than 3 years, right? Very few businesses. And reality is, for most companies, the reason it takes 3 years is because they spend a bunch of time fumbling around and trying to figure out how to actually find the right idea, find something they stick with, right? Like that's the other thing with SEOs. It's like, yeah, today I'm building a site for baby strollers, and in 2 weeks I'm like, oh, that was wrong. I need a gardening website. That's the solution to everything. And another couple of months down the line, it's something else. That's the shiny object, right? But the thing is that, like I tell everyone, if you pick one thing, just one thing, and do it for a period of time, eventually you will succeed. It doesn't matter if you open a restaurant. It doesn't matter if you're selling plastic cups. Like, I don't care what the business is, but if you pick something and just focus on it over and over and over and over again for a period of time, you will eventually succeed, right? If you're like, here's the thing, it's not the smartest people who succeed. It's the people with determination, willpower, and people who just keep going, right? So it's way more important than necessarily, like, people think it's about the right niche. And yeah, there's probably some wrong niches out there, but honestly, every niche can be monetized. Like, every niche can be monetized. You can't show me a niche. Now, here's the thing, with a lazy SEO mindset, if you're like, yeah, I only want to do ads, so this niche doesn't pay well for ads, so I don't want to do it. Like, well, if you can get a lot of traffic and it's not very competitive because it doesn't pay very much, you can find a way to monetize it, right? And this is where business come in. Like, the whole mindset is, how do you look at things from a business standpoint and look at what are the other things you can sell people, right? How can you build a great email list? How can you create products? How can you get someone to do products for you, right? Like, you can literally go to YouTube, find people who you can see want to do YouTube, who have a great camera, who knows the topic. You can go to them and say, hey, I'll pay you $2,000 to produce a course about XYZ. And you can literally pay a one-off fee to get someone slap their name on it as well, use their expertise, and help them get branding, pay them a bit of money. And you can literally get a course that you can sell over and over and over again to all of your audience. Now, if you have a lot of traffic and you're selling a course at $20 or $50 or whatever, if you do that enough, you'll make money.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like Mads was talking like previously about the people making the mistakes and doing the wrong things. It sounds like, a lot of what I did quite a few years ago. And yeah, I kind of look back and going, if I sharpen that, I probably could have sped things up by a couple of years. But, we all make our mistakes. And going back to what everyone said earlier about not just talking about SEO, but talking about business. That's what's great about getting a chance to go to these conferences like, SEO Mastery, where you can, meet really cool people. And I like listening to how people do their business and how they make decisions, listening to the stories of their failures and how they've learned from them. I can listen to that all day long and just talk about it.
Yeah.
Then tune into my podcast, John. That's literally my podcast. That's exactly why I
Here's the
started
pitch.
the
Here's the
podcast.
pitch.
No, it's I'm planning to I'm not sure if I'm signed up to it, but I've been following a bunch of CMOs, and it's almost like we're almost at the point where we probably need one. So I'll definitely gonna have to
but no, like
power consume
seriously,
this.
like I see the networking effect so much. I like the Aspiring CMO is literally just a way for me to network and for me to play with creative stuff, because eventually, like I always see this trend, like if one thing is starting to get repeated again and again, people will be looking on the other side. And I feel like SEO is a very data driven, very logical field where it's, we're talking about updates here and there, like this update due to, AI automations. And yeah, like eventually the creative and the logic will have to merge. So yeah, because we were talking about business so much, I also learned in the couple of months like how important team building is. And I always thought like communication is something people make up in university so they can charge a lot of money for tuition. But I'm like, damn, this communication thing is actually pretty important to do.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Talk about things SEOs are not good at.
Right.
As
I
a
mean, I'm an
course.
extroverted one, but I'm like, I see that the SEOs really, really do struggle with that. Like I'm hired to connect two departments that are both shy. And I'm like, I love my job. I'm like,
Introverted.
wow. The
Yeah.
best in the group.
So job description is talk to human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of the I actually have like a mix of two things you guys been talking about, and both like the mistakes made in the past and doing the things you love. So and both of these things and I want to give a shout out to the Aspiring CMO podcast. I know, I mean, you obviously you know that you have been doing some mistakes and continue to do some other mistakes. Like, I mean, like I know my mistakes as well, and all of us do. But I mean, if you take a look at how you started back in, was it like I think
May.
April or May?
Yeah, April, May.
And
Yeah.
now it wasn't bad at all. It's just that the when you started, but the way you've grown over this time, I mean, the quality of content you deliver today, and the way you manage your conversations, and the way you film them, and the way you edit them, it's grown so much. I mean, just as Maz was saying, like if you find and focus on on one thing, and you keep doing it, you will eventually succeed. And that's what I keep seeing. And you've grown your channel as well, right? I mean, you have your brand. It's not just Ani Hoang, owner of a YouTube channel. It's Ani Hoang, the host of the Aspiring CMO podcast. I mean, you have your brand there. And yeah, it's just that to connect those things into one, all of the things you were saying. Now getting back to the branded traffic and Google update conversation. How do Mods, I think this question is for you in particular, because I think I have like a gut feeling that you had quite a few consulting requests after this core update, with people changing their strategies and team management approaches. What was like the hottest topic in your conversations with clients after this update, in terms of all the changes?
I would say this update, not much yet, but the last update, yes. And again, focus. right? Like people come to me, they're like, yeah, we had 7 sites, they made like $1,000 each, so I made some money. Like if you have 7 sites making 1K each, if you had focused on just one site, it would be making 20 grand a month, right?
Mhm.
And now reality is, if you get penalized, you get penalized, right? But like the way I look at it very simply is, if you're focused on one site and you get penalized, you put all your weight behind figuring out how to get out of it again.
Yeah,
right?
or you have to, or you hire
but-
Kazardash and
But just the yeah.
sorry, interrupted
Yeah,
you.
but I mean, reality is, right? Most SEOs don't. A lot of time they're afraid to invest, right? Like I love the guys at What's Such a Rule, right? And yeah, if you have a penalty, I mean, if I have a site that drops a significant amount of money, I'm happy to pay a little bit of money to get some consulting, right? And again, there's also like knowing a lot of great people. I mean, we've had a lot of sites getting screwed out over the years, right? And knowing smart people, building all these connections, as I say, like, message a friend and say, hey, could you take a look at this thing? And if you spend 5 minutes and you can pick out 1 or 2 things you think I could do better, then do it. But this is so much easier. If you're focused on one site, that is so much easier. If you're running 3 or 4 sites at a time and you're constantly trying to like juggle between stuff, that makes it way harder, right? If you're focused on one thing, like if you're focused on just the Odys website and you're asking for feedback from people, it's so much easier to update. It's so much easier to track. Yeah, I mean, focus for me is the biggest thing. And again, the business aspect, right? Like quite a few people after the HAU update last year, like quite a few people had to cut down quite significantly. Some of them making way more money now than they were previously. And again, typically because of the focus have helped them. So some guys completely stopped their own affiliate site and went into agency. So I have a couple of clients that did that, and they're extremely successful. Also, a couple of guys that just ended up really focusing down on 1 or 2 projects, right? So fundamentally, focus in business is where the success is, right? Because Google will keep doing updates, right? Like if you feel Google is hunting you down and screwing you over, they likely are, and that will continue to happen. But if you're treating your business as a website and you're constantly looking at how can I make more money, how can I business-wise, how can I get more money out of the audience, right? So in business, you focus on customer lifetime value, and what that means is that you spend money to acquire a customer. So if you build a website and you put some content on it, every single person that come onto your website, you've paid an amount of money to get to your website. Now, the more successful you will be in business is the more money you can make from each person that comes onto your website, right? So if you can gather their emails, if you can sell them products, the more you can raise the bar in how much money you can make from them, the more valuable your traffic is, and the more you can afford to invest in bringing in more traffic to your site and your brand. And that's essentially business success.
Yeah. That sounds just picture
And
perfect.
then maybe my take on that, just to add to what Mads is saying, where
Sure
one
thing.
focus on one site rather than a whole bunch of sites. And we're obviously, Ani was talking about video and how SEOs are using YouTube. And I think all of us either have a podcast or are on podcasts pretty often, and just trying to bring in branding into the whole equation. I think not enough people put their faces onto their products or services or websites, where at the end of the day, people want to buy from people. Even when you're doing like a blog post, I mean, I'm starting to notice these little patterns from content marketers that say, okay, the about section, about who you are, why you're the authority. I think these things are important. So, I mean, yeah, it's would I love to do like multiple podcasts and different products and services? I would, but I also know I don't have the time. Doing one podcast keeps me sort of focused, and it gives me the creative outlet to do something different. But I found just by going down this rabbit hole, we're getting more inbound leads than I feel like I need to do outbound. And I think this is like brand building trust, and it's sounds like common sense, but people buy from people. If you just kind of have that narrow focus, it's like, okay, all I have to do is one podcast per week. It's not so difficult, but I mean, I think we all can share our own experiences. Look at the doors these things open. When you go to a conference, you get a chance to meet amazing people. Like, I've had Mads on my podcast. I'm like, I got a chance to pick his brain for nearly an hour. I'm like, I feel like I should be paying money for this, and maybe I should, but
I'll send you an invoice.
I was waiting for someone to finally invoice me for that.
Yeah.
Which means
Guys,
that what I see, like,
yeah.
this is going to be a trend, right, John? Oh, oops.
Go on.
Yes.
Keep on going. Keep on talking. What's up? What's wrong?
Are we lagging? Am I lagging?
It's all good.
It's all good. Now you're lagging.
No editing needed, as we said.
Well, all right. Well, hopefully Mods and Ani will come back in a second.
I was
But
worried
yeah.
that my internet was going to be the one that messed up. I'm in Malta at Airbnb, and things are just not stable at all. So I'm pretty happy that we've made it this far. If I start cutting out, then hopefully we got enough out of me.
Yeah. No, your connection is crisp, perfect.
I'm shocked.
Both sound and visually wise. Yeah, but Maz and Ani got frozen. And now they're gone.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if they reconnect. I hope they do. Well, it happens once in a while.
I wanted to hear what she had to say. Just going off on that chat about personal branding, video, YouTube, and all that.
Yeah. And yeah, truth be told, I mean, she's done a terrific job over these. I mean, it's been less than a year, and it's all genuine and organic. Okay, she's almost here.
Yeah. And even just getting doing podcasts. I know my first video is brutal. Like, I'm not deleting them, keeping them on YouTube, and just watching them. It's just painful to watch, but you got to start somewhere. I know my first set of podcasts they're rusty as hell.
Welcome back, guys.
Sorry, I don't know. I'm so sorry about this.
No worries.
What I was trying to say, that it's going to be like, I don't know what's stopping people from just hiring content creators, because there is a lot of people who could be doing that on behalf of you. And it's all about just like, how can you just manage them on a monthly basis so that they create content that makes you look trustworthy and also fun and fun and trustworthy. I guess that's what it is.
Focus is what stops people. The thing is, if you're running 5 affiliate sites that make $1,000 each, going out and hiring a person to do content, like really high quality content, is difficult, right? Like, reality is, if you want to go and hire like a full-time person to just sit and push out videos, push out great content, if you're going to spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month to do that, if you have a site making $1,000, that's hard. It's hard to justify that investment, right? So again, the focus on one side, the focus on one business enables that sort of investment, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, we're about to wrap it up, but we do have one question from Chris Jagger. So what advice would you give to someone thinking about starting a podcast to build your personal brand?
Oh, that's me.
Yep.
Just kidding. That's kidding. Actually, by the way, did you guys know that Matt Singers has a Matt Singers Management podcast and has over 10,000 downloads? Did you guys know that? Fun fact.
Nope. Didn't know that. How come?
I've checked out his podcast.
Oh, man.
Matt does have, and it's but everyone was on it, even like Cockhanger, Matt. I don't know if it was Kyle on it too, but yeah, a lot of people was on it, right?
Gotta check it out. Is it available on Spotify?
Everywhere.
He's all right.
Everywhere.
I will check it out. So getting back to that question, so I believe all three of you can answer it. What advice would you give to someone thinking about starting a podcast to build your personal brand?
Get on Reverse Side FM, get a good microphone, and only record at least 5 episodes until you announce to the public that you have a podcast and you already have the episodes posted on the podcast platforms. Eventually it will turn out to be a YouTube channel, but don't worry about it yet. Just keep talking to a microphone coherently in your, like, just public speaking. Depends on what you want to do with your podcast. If you are doing networking so that you do lead generation, then the prospecting is going to be, it's just going to be so much easier for you to talk to leads because everybody wants to be on a podcast. And I did not know that until I started one, that everybody wants to be on a podcast. So but for lead gen is just so much easier, but it's time consuming. So that all the back end stuff, if you could hire someone to do that for you and all you have to do is just press record and talk, that would be great. If you do a solo podcast, now that's a different story. That's almost like a YouTube channel for me. So that's really like you have to think as a content creator and you have to drive the views. So there are two elements, two ways to go into it, in my opinion. One is lead gen, and you talk to people you want to sell to. Number two, it's you eventually becoming a YouTuber.
Yeah, I would say my 3 quick points on it is definitely start out with doing video. So I was doing my podcast in audio, but I started it quite a while back. But what I would recommend is do video even from day one. Don't worry about making it perfect, but just like you learn being better in audio when you've done 5 or 10 or 20 or whatever, you also get better on video, right? So start with video from day one is definitely a key. Number 2 is go learn public speaking. If you're struggling with a podcast, sign up for your local Toastmasters.org club and really just like the skills are so transferable, right? And it's so like public speaking and learning to talk in front of a camera have a lot of transferable skills and it's super valuable either way. So I would definitely recommend that, right? And then lastly, try not go too broad. Like there's so many another SEO podcast. Anyone can do that, right? Pick your thing, right? I mean, I love Jason Bernard, for example, is the brand SERP guy. Like he's that guy, right? Casper, probably the recovery addict, or what you call it. But find a niche, find something that really makes people think about you when they think about a particular area, right? Like, and don't just Farry Cassoni, also great, right? Like digital PR. Like if anyone says digital PR, people think of Farry, right? So see if you can find that sort of niche. Don't just start something super general.
And then, for my answer, I went down a journey where I over-researched this, and I ended up finding someone named Tom Hunt who runs, this is my favorite podcast. It's Confessions of a B2B Marketer. It is phenomenal. What Tom does, he gives away his playbook, but you can also hire him as a consultant, and I'd highly recommend it. His playbook is this. First, be a guest on other people's podcasts. Second, start your Training Wheels podcast, like not the one you want to do, but the basic one. And just to give you an idea, you can start like one that has 5 episodes or 3 episodes. Make it a series. You could even make it SEO focused just so you rank for those keywords with the intention that it's actually a series with an end date. And then you're going to use those 2 steps to get your experience to do the third one, which is exactly what I did. Definitely, you want to go niche. That's what Tom recommends. So what Mads said there, I would definitely double down. And my answer to Chris is not just like what advice, but why? Why do a podcast? Again, if I had $500 to spend on every guest that I've had, I would say that's money well spent, even if I didn't even hit the publish button. Just to have the one-on-one time with amazing people, I get the chance to sit back and ask questions of experts in different angles of business, SEO, all of that. And, I just get a buzz. Half of my podcasts that I record, I just walk away and go, I need to go for a walk. I'm so pumped. It gets me really excited. And when I talk to other people that have a podcast, we have the same thing in common. And we just sit back and go, I can't believe people are going to be too scared to get started and be worried about the very first episode of being uncomfortable. It is completely worth it.
And just to add one thing, because SEOs love links, one thing I would add is every affiliate site we have ever owned have a have a 1-episode podcast, and that ensures we get a lot of branding and a lot of links from a hell of a lot of sites, right? So what happens is there's so many podcast directories out there that are sort of synchronizing and so on. So nowadays you can probably go on Fiverr and get someone to actually synchronize your thing if you just get it set up, right? But we've done this for probably the last 7-8 years or so. Every time we have had an affiliate site or a content site or anything, we have always launched like just 1 episode of someone talking for 5 minutes. No one knows, but when you're getting 20, and this might be do follow links, but when you're getting links from iTunes, you're getting links from Spotify, you're getting links from all these websites, right? Links are links.
It's worth it.
And you can probably
Yep.
do it with AI voices now. So like, you don't have to put in so much effort. And it's interesting when we went to conferences and we shared this like just quick tip. And it's really, really just a quick tip. Like it's so quick to set up. I think like you can do it in like 20 minutes, you know? So, but for personal branding, I think John's advice on like, you know your why, like why do you want to talk to a microphone and your camera for 30 minutes? Like that's the most important one to figure out, because you can build a personal brand just being a YouTuber. You don't have to do podcasts. You can just share your tip, like this is how I do X and Y in X minutes, and here you go. Yeah.
And to add to what Annie's saying, I can't believe how many doors just doing a podcast is open. It is just beyond phenomenal. It's I had no idea what I was doing. Like I knew I wanted to do a podcast. I thought it was going to help my business, but I didn't know what it looked like. And when you listen to other people, like even Nathan Latka saying, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to start here and I'm going to figure it out later. You just watch all these people level up. It's the best networking tool that exists.
One of the best for sure.
A friend of mine actually, he was in school and he was starting out a marketing podcast a couple of years ago. He was like, well, I'm trying to find a job and so on. And he got an absolute killer job. And, he learned so much from doing it. Like, because starting a podcast, like doing some video, doing some audio, figuring out all this stuff, right? Like, there's a lot of skills in that, right? Now, if you're doing it to procrastinate and not do all the good business stuff, not a good choice. But if you have a purpose with it, if you have a brand, if you have a business and you want to put more sort of power behind that brand, I think podcasts are absolutely fantastic way. And just like John said, I mean, I honestly, I use it a ton for an outreach tool. Like I find people I really love to talk to, and instead of saying, hey, do you have 5 minutes for a chat or whatever, I'll be like, hey, I'd love to have you on my podcast. And very few people say no to that.
Yeah. It's time to wrap it up. Thank you for your thoughts, for sharing your perspectives. It was a hell of a valuable conversation. And once again, SEO Mastery Summit, April 7 to 11, right?
7-11 it is.
7-11. Yeah, so make sure to be there. If you haven't got your ticket yet, just wait a little bit. I'll add the link to the ticket purchase page with the dedicated discount code, so you can get a ticket for a cheaper price. And also, if you happen to be in Warsaw next week at the Kulturalny SEO conference hosted by Robert Nisiel, see you there as well, because we're as Otis sponsoring the after party, so we're gonna be there too. Thank you guys. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for your thoughts and questions as well, our dear audience. So see you in 2 weeks, and then we'll have another break because we're going to head to Saigon for SEO Mastery Summit.
Yeah.
Right.
See
Thank
you guys.
you.
Thank you, Vlad.
See you soon.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you.
Enjoy. Bye-bye, guys.